everyone, and welcome to the show. Yesterday, just before the start of the final ODI match between West Indies and England at Kensington Oval, West Indies released their T20 squad for the 5-match T20 series that will start on Tuesday. Joining me today to discuss the West Indies T20 squad that is scrolling across the bottom there are Basil Butcher, the son of the former West Indies and Guyanese batsman, Andre Douglas, one of our resident analysts, and our other resident analyst, Bobby Brown. Hello, gentlemen. Good afternoon. Good morning. Welcome to the show.
Good afternoon. Welcome to the show.
Yes, gentlemen.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Yes, gentlemen. When I look at that West Indies squad, 13 of those players in that squad, I would have selected them for my squad. The two exceptions was Kyle Myers and Andre Russell. The other 13 are in my squad. Gentlemen, let's start with you, Basil, since you are at the top of the top. What do you think about the selection of Russell and Myers, and what role do you see them playing in this squad?
I see Russell. Russell is more in this team more for his bowling, his dead bowling. Even sometimes with the new ball, because of all the bowlers on this team, Russell is more expert to me as bowling Yorkers in those situations, more efficient, right? I don't think his batting, his batting is so much needed in this team. Kyle Myers, I think in terms of Kyle Myers, as you raise questions about him, he's an interesting pick. They're probably looking at Kyle Myers, in the form that he exhibited in the last IPL playing for the team. I think it's Gujarat, that he did a good job at the top of the order, and they're looking for that for Kyle Myers at the top of the order. And also he brings that option of bowling swing up front, right? So those might be the reasons that they got those two guys in the team. In the squad.
Thank you, Basil. Andre, when you look at Kyle Myers' performance for the West Indies over the years, especially in his last 5 matches, I think he had scored 25 only once, making 1, 15, 10, and I think ducks in those last 5 matches. He has never gotten a wicket for the West Indies in T20 International. Is Kyle Myers' place justifiable in this squad, Andre?
Yeah, I think Myers could count himself very, very lucky to be a part of this squad, With the form that he has exhibited, I think he's quite lucky to be a part of the squad. But I think probably the difficulty might have been faced by the selectors might be who to open with Brandon King. I think that Hope probably not he's a bit reluctant to open the inning. So they have him there as an option in terms of opening. So, he might be lucky in that regard, that they might need another someone to partner King in the opening position.
Bobby, earlier in the year, I think last week you said that these batsmen are Myers secured this spot in the T20 squad based on how these batsmen are performing, Bobby. Do you mind elaborate on that comment, Bobby?
Well, nobody is giving him any pressure there, so that's why Myers is playing. Because when you look on the CPL, the only other person who you could look on is Fletcher. There is not really much anybody there. The other person that we would have think could have made the squad is what's his name from Trinidad, but he didn't really have a good CPL either. So, a few good innings from Myers, and he secured his spot. He has no pressure there. But I would open with Shea Hope though. I would still not have Myers in my squad.
Okay. Basil, I gave you my 2 persons who I would not have included in the squad. is there anyone in this squad that you would not have included, Basil?
My question mark was over Russell. In my opinion, I was finished with Russell a while ago, right? I had expressed this in public. I done with Russell. So I was very surprised about Russell. So no, I would now step back to see what was the rationale the selectors used to pick Russell. And I working around my brain and I thinking is because of his bowling and maybe because the lack of quality dead bowling in the West Indies team that Russell finds himself fortunate to be in the team. Now, the other thing is this. Russell has said in public that if the coach is true to his word, he expects to be in the West Indies squad. You would have seen that that comment made recently Russell made. So it seems that Sammy had this is almost a Sammy influence pick based on those comments from Russell.
So you are comfortable with the other 14 players.
Yes.
And you believe that
yes,
you believe
because,
that
yeah, go ahead, sorry.
No, you are comfortable with the other 14 players, and you believe that Russ's inclusion is a direct result of Sammy's influence.
Yes, I think so, because you remember the last time we had a T20 team picked, Russell was not included, and he and this was before Sammy came in as coach, and he made some comments in the public that were vague, that in terms of his talks with the West Indies board and so on and so forth. So at that point, those selectors, which are still in place, the two selectors at that time did not select him, right? The only change since then is now Sammy comes in as coach, and he's also a selector, and now Russell is back in the fold, and you hear that Russell had these conversations with Sammy and saying he's true to the word, that if he stays true to the word, I expect to be back in the team, something along those lines. But I would ask you the question, which players that you feel that were not selected that would have challenged for a spot in this squad?
Yes, I would have named my squad, and the two persons who I had in my squad that was not selected here was Thomas and Fletcher. Those were the two persons that I had in my squad. But Bobby, coming to you, Andre, just let me ask Bobby. Bobby, are you comfortable with this 15? And who are the players you would not have had in this 15?
Well, I pretty much would have go with your squad. I would not have Russell and Myers. Like Basil said, I'm still trying to understand the rationale behind Russell pick. But I guess maybe they're looking at it that he got 16 wickets in CPL. So maybe he's there for his bowling. I'm not sure. I think we're pretty good on bowling. I think we have Shepherd and Joseph. I've really bowled good in death overs. So I'm still a bit puzzled, about Russell's pick. But for the rest of the squad, I'm good with it.
Andre,
right? Yes.
What do you think is the rationale behind Russell? We have seen in the CPL he was able to bowl above 140 kilometer. Give us your take on the Russell selection.
Yeah. Yes, Russell, he bowled pretty quickly in the CPL. He also bowled some really good Yorkers. I thought that over the past year, I think Russell, this is the fittest that I've seen Russell in years. So let me just point that out. So I think that a fit Russell is still one of your better options available right now in terms of death overs. I think he has bowled pretty well. In the past, say, year that I've seen him, he has bowled pretty well. So, I honestly, I'm not really surprised with the Russell selection. And I honestly don't have a problem with it.
Yeah, okay. All right, Andre, I heard you. So, gentlemen, if you were to look at probably a starting 11 for the match coming up on Tuesday, Let's start with Bobby this time. Bobby, do you have a starting 11 for us?
Yeah, my starting 11 would be King and Hope to open, Puran at third, Robman Powell at fourth, Hetty at fifth, and I would play Chase at six, Shepherd at seven, Hossein eight, Ford nine, and Alzari and Moti. That's my 11.
Okay, thank you, Bobby, for your 11. What is your 11 like, Basil?
I starting off. I going with Myers and King. Puran at three. Um, uh, the Hope at four. Hetmai at five. The captain at six. Uh, Holder, Joseph, Hussein, um, Shepherd, and Moti.
Okay, and Andre, what is your 11 like, Andre?
You're right. My 11 would be Mayors and King 1 and 2 at Hope at 3, Puran at 4, Powell at 5. I would go with Rutherford at 6, Russell at 7, Shepherd at 8. Do you have Hussein at 9, Moti at 10, and then Joseph 11. So I play the two spinners, and
You
then
you you so you'd play the two spinners. All right,
yes,
gentlemen. All right, so we are starting again from the top. Let's go with the comments because there are a number of comments coming in. And so we start with Sherwin, and he's saying that I'm very happy with the youth movement. Russell will be an extra along with Older, Chase, and King. How do you react to that, Basil? Do you understand what Sherwin is saying?
I can't understand when he's talking about this youth movement, right? Um, Chase is what 30 years old. No, that's an old man now. I mean, King is what 28 or something of the sort. I mean, really, what is it? Who is these youth? The youth, the only person in that team is a really you could call a youth is Matthew Ford, who's 21. Everybody's in the mid to late 20s and or early 30s in the team. So the youth movement, I don't understand what he's talking about. Russell's the oldest guy in the team, and Russell is what 35.
Yeah.
Right.
So you do not see any youth movements there. And please remember to slash a like on the video and click on the subscribe button. Continue, Basil.
Yeah, I don't see anything with the youth movement. And let's be clear. Remember, we have another T20 series in Australia coming up early next year. So yeah, the selectors having a chance to look at different guys in different roles and so on and so forth for the upcoming World Cup, because we have to make sure we can have our best team. We are the hosts. It will not be very good for us to not get out of the group stage. This is very, very important.
Yes, it's very important. Andre, Athena is saying, and you'll see Athena comment on the screen there, Andre.
Right.
How do you react to Athena comment?
Yeah, I mean, that's very spot on, Athena. I myself saw the comments that Russell made, so I was not surprised any at all that Russell was recalled. And I think it is justified, because once he has bowled pretty well in the CPL, and if you're one of the indices of being selected is performance, you have to select him based on his availability. So I have no issues at all, as I said before, with the Russell selection whatsoever.
Bobby, do you think that Kevin Sinclair should have been in the squad?
No, I don't think I don't think he's ready for, or he's done enough in T20 to be in the T20 squad. He could be in the ODI and Test squad, but not the T20 squad.
Oh, okay, thank you, Bobby. Arjuna is saying, and take this for me. Arjuna is saying, take this comment for me. Ains is choosing freelancers like Russell, Akil over the consistent players. What's your thought on that, Andre?
I'd like to know which consistent players is Arjun talking about, because I mean, Russell and Akil, they have been performing pretty well. They have done pretty well. Akil has done pretty well in T20. He has done well in recent even T10 competition. So I don't understand what he's saying, that they're performing not as well as those as other consistent performers. Or are they? I don't know. I don't know who she's talking or who he's talking.
Basil, do you have anything to say about who are those consistent performers you
Yeah,
think he's talking?
yeah. I mean, first of all, freelancers. Russell is the only freelancer in this team. Well, now we saw the list come out of the new contracts for this year going into next year, and we see that Myers, Holder, and Puran have not signed central contracts, right?
Yeah, yes.
So
And
they are they
the list will be posted at the end toward the end of the broadcast.
okay. Yeah,
All right, yes.
so now those guys are the freelancers. Akil Hussein is a centrally contracted player, and Akil Hussein has been very consistent. Clearly, one of our best bowlers in T20 cricket. Period.
Okay. That's what continue Supernova is saying. Do you see the comment there? I think Myers is very lucky. Do you think Fletcher should have been selected over Myers, Basil?
No way, no way, no way, no way, no way. Fletcher's a has-been. I had time to waste with Fletcher. So Fletcher's what, 36 years old plus going down the line. Myers, look, Myers, I think in Myers' case, especially in this short form, I don't look at Myers as a test player, right? Because he don't seem to. That one time he make the double century way, Anyway, in that game, he could have out for Duck in the game, one plenty edges pass next to Menhands in the slip. But Myers got to understand something. He cannot just, you hit a man for a couple sixes in the over, and you just keep going and throw away your wicket. Myers got to get, because he has that capability in the short format of the game to take it to the bowlers, but he got to be a little bit more temper sometimes, some of the way he tried to go and then throw a wicket and take the pressure off of the bowling, the fielding team. But Fletcher, nah, man, I ain't wasting time with Fletcher, man. Fletcher, we know what Fletcher is.
But Bobby, you do not agree with Basil, right, Bobby? So tell us why Fletcher should be in the squad ahead of Myers.
I mean, he performed. If he's in the squad or he's not in the squad, I don't have a problem. But I would have him over Myers because he performed better than Myers in the last CPL. And not just that, Myers haven't really been performing all year. In T20 internationals, he had a good IPL, but other than that, he hasn't really put up any type of performance. So that would be the only reason why I would choose Fletcher over him. But like Supernova said, I think he's lucky too to even be in the squad, and then he refused a contract. Maybe that's a blessing in disguise for West Indies.
Okay, you guys have been talking about the contracts, so let me just put up on the screen there the players, the male players, because I also have the female list to put up. So let me see. This is the male player list. Those are the players who have been centrally contracted. 14 of them. Any surprise there for you, gentlemen?
Not really.
Atanes, Brathwaite, Carty, Chandapal, Da Silva, Hope, Hussein, Joseph, King, Moti, Ravman, Powell, Roth, Seal, Shepherd. Are you surprised that Powell accepted a contract this year? We saw where Puran, Older, and was it Myers?
Yeah.
Who refused a central contract, but also said that they are available for every T20 internationals.
But Powell is captain, Carlton. So I can't see a captain not accepting a central contract. So I think based on that alone is why I think Powell would have accepted a central contract as being the captain of the West Indies team.
I got you. Do you concur, Andre?
Yeah, most definitely. I don't think there's much. I don't think you'll see much of Powell in the ODI version of the game, So with him just focusing on T20, and he's a captain, as Basil alluded to. So there's no way we could not possibly not accept a central contract from West Indies Cricket Board.
Okay, got you. Is there anyone in this set of players who you would have included, Bobby? Is there anybody in this? Let me ask the question. Is there anyone who is not in this set of players that you would have included?
Not really. I'm surprised Holder refused one. Maybe we see the end of his career, his international career. But yeah, I'm trying to think. Maybe O'Shane, because they have invested in him. So maybe I'm surprised he's not there. I would have included, yes, O'Shane. I would have put Thomas in there. Since they have been working with him, investing in him, and he seems to be going along pretty well, recovering pretty well. So I would have Thomas.
Okay, Basil, is that something that you would have done? Would you have give O'Shane a central contract?
Not really, because firstly, the reason why we got to remember something. They don't give the central contracts based on sentiments. They have certain metrics that they have to use based on how many games you would have played in the last year and your performances in terms of those games. Thomas has not played much, so therefore it would have been hard for them to give him a central contract. Now, the thing with Thomas is now playing with Leeward Islands, right? So he is still, I think he is centrally contracted with Leeward Islands. So he's under the contract of a regional team. So he's still somewhat in the fold, right? But I think the metrics is the main reason why a guy like Thomas, and I don't know if they are still doing what they used to do, give players developmental contracts. They used to give one or two players developmental contracts. I don't know if they're still doing that because, money tied to the CWI. So him already being contracted with Leeward Islands, I think he's in the fold right there. So I'm not surprised that Thomas wouldn't be there.
Yes, generally, if you don't get a West Indies retainer, generally you get a regional contract retainer, which, in all fairness, is still under the auspices of Cricket West Indies. Now, Andre Supernova is saying that only Lewis could have made this squad stronger. What do you think about Lewis? What is really happening with Lewis, Andre?
Lewis seemed to have lost his way. I think Lewis, he had issues in terms of his fitness and his commitment. So I don't know if we'll see a lot of Lewis in the future where West Indies cricket is concerned, because he seemed to have lost his way, and I really don't know what the future holds for Lewis any at all.
Okay, thank you very much, Andre. Supernova 22 is saying that he likes the squad. It have the making of a destructive opener for us in the future. That's not the question. Oh, this was what I want to ask you, gentlemen. Sorry about that. Supernova 22 believes that everyone should get a game during the series. Do you think that the West Indies senior team should be about handing out games to persons just because they're in the squad, or we should pick the best performing 11 at all time? I want to hear all three of you gentlemen comment on this. Go ahead, Andre, first.
The only way I would say that you would probably want to give, if probably everybody would probably get a game. Say West Indies is up 3-0 or say 4-0 for that matter. You'd probably want to let those persons who have not gotten an opportunity to get a game. But otherwise, no. If it's a pretty close series, no. You have to play your best team. So if it's not a case where we're up 4-0 or say 3-1, I don't think that players should be rotated. You pick your best team to try and win as many games as possible.
But if I'm up 4-0, I'm not rotating my playing 11, Basil.
Look, we have to play guys based on how they perform. If you're not performing, you get dropped. But you play the guys throughout. I don't agree with giving everybody one game. No, because remember one thing. when you go into a World Cup, your games are coming fast and furious, right? So guys have to have the experience if you're playing a five match series, right? In that short order of time. That's part of the experience you have to develop down the road when you're gonna be playing in the World Cup. Because in a World Cup, you don't do a lot of chopping and changing unless somebody really fall down flat in the face and you gotta replace them. So it's generally the best team, the best performers are gonna be playing in the team throughout. You know, it's like you know, like in basketball, you know, as you play regular season, you play a long bench, but when it comes playoffs, the bench gets shorter. You only take about 1 or 2 guys off the bench. And it's similarly here. We can't just play everybody just to give them a game. No.
I got you. Bobby, your comment on it, Bobby. And I also want you to take this question too after you finish that comment, Bobby.
Okay. Yeah, like Andre and Basil say, you play the best team and you play on performance, you know, and we have to win. Unless, you know, we beat England maybe 3-4-0, then you can give 1 and 2 guys a game. But other than that, you have to play the best team because the fans want to see the best team.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think they should have gone with Naeem Young ahead of Russell?
No.
Why?
I don't see Naeem Young as, you know, ready for international cricket as yet. I would have gone for Thomas instead of Russell.
Okay. Andre, would you have gone for Young instead of Russell?
Oh, no, not at all, not at all. I think that Young still has a lot of work to do in terms of his bowling. I don't think his bowling is as good as it should be. So, you know, I have no issues with Russell being in the team. Young still has a lot of work. He has potential, yes, but he has a lot of work to do in terms of his bowling. He's a fair batsman, but yes, he still has a lot of work to do.
Basil, Jake's Glasgow is saying that he would have loved to see Pooran open in the innings. What's your thought on that?
That's an option. That is clearly an option. I don't see why Pooran could be an option to open the batting. Definitely, don't see anything wrong with that at all. When Mr. Hetmeyer was playing also really well, he used to be an option you could put it to open the batting also, right? You could bat him at anywhere, but in recent times, they have put Mr. Hetmeyer as a closer, whereas Pooran, I agree, Pooran could bat anywhere in this team. You could put Pooran anywhere.
Thank you, Bobby. And I saw your comment, Mr. Champion, and because we have dealt with it already, but I saw your comment that the Champion is saying that Fletcher have destroyed more paced attack than Myers. But the panel would have gone over that. So, and that's why I don't take your question, Mr. Champion, but I did see it. But Bobby, Randy Beckers is saying this is a full strength squad. He expects West Indies to win 4-1.
I expect that way too, maybe even 5-0, you know. Whitewash them. You know, the T20 squad has been the better of all the other squads. And, you know, and like you said, it's a full strength squad. It's a very hard 11 to pick.
All right, gentlemen.
Can I comment on that, Carlton?
Go ahead, Basil.
I think Bobby is forgetting that England are the defending T20 world champions. The same West Indies team could not even qualify to play. And now you're talking about beating them 4-1 and 5-0. Please, y'all, pump your brakes. England is a serious T20 team. Please.
I mean, most of the guys that was on that team is not playing. So
yes,
we can beat them.
There. Who is not there? Call a player there.
Roy, Heels, who else? I think no Stokes is gonna be there, and a couple of them is not there.
Yeah, I mean, but
we can't deal with Moeen and Woody's coming. We can't beat them.
All right,
Andre, let's hear your comments on this.
Yeah. I mean, England is still a very, very good T20 team, you know. And they have a lot of experienced players who are coming in who did not play in ODIs. Adil Rashid, for instance. Adil Rashid is an excellent bowler. He will pose a lot of challenges for the West Indian batsmen. No doubt about that. You understand? You have the left armer Timal Mills, who is a quite, a very canny bowler. So they have some experience coming in the T20 squad. And the likes of Just Butler, I think Just Butler is probably one of the better T20 batters around. So they still have some good weapons in the T20 team. So England is not going to be very easy as probably you think, Bob. It's going to be competitive.
Gentlemen, I know that this is a cricket community, but some things are more important than cricket. So I'm just going to ask each of you gentlemen, I will close with Basil being the Guyanese, to just react to the situation that is happening on the Essequibo border that's between Guyana and Venezuela. So Andre, we have realized that Bobby is not here. So you go ahead, Andre, just 30 seconds.
Well, I hope that, whatever is happening between the Guyanese and the Venezuelan, that it could be resolved in a very amicable way, and that we have no sort of, war in terms of involved, because we really would not want anything to happen to our friends in Guyana. So we really hope that there will be some very amicable,
Solution
to this problem. So we wish all the very best.
Well, Andre, I must say that if it is not a Guyana alone problem, because it will not be a Guyana alone war, but I think the entire Caribbean would be involved. Bobby, what are your views? What are your views on the situation on the Essequibo border?
Yeah, I think we have to help, our Guyanese brothers and the people of Guyana, because even though they're on South America, they're still part of the Commonwealth, right? So we have to help them.
Yes, they have historical ties to the Caribbean, cultural ties to the Caribbean. They are the only English-speaking country in South America, and so they are tied to the Caribbean. They are part of CARICOM and everything. So it will not be only a Guyanese war, but CARICOM will be heavily involved, and we're watching that situation. Basil, you are the man of the hour here. You are the Guyanese, and Mr. Casanova is also asking, is this the Basil, the son of the great Guyanese batsman? Yes. So you have two questions there.
Yes, that was my father. Yes. Return the Venezuela situation. Firstly, just give people some historical context. Venezuela has no claim. There was an arbitration in 1897 that all parties agreed to in 1899. The final result, which was a perfect. I'm not giving you the correct quote, but it was essentially you agreed to it. The agreement was reaffirmed again in 1905, and so on and so forth. This claim with Venezuela, it's a nationalistic thing that politicians across the spectrum in Venezuela would always ramp up when it's election time and so on, bring this nationalistic thing, so for them to return to office and so on and so forth. And I can say this without contradiction. Venezuela's claim is bogus. It has no legitimacy, absolutely none. And I thank my Caribbean brothers for being supportive to the people of Guyana, because as I always say, we in the Caribbean are one nation separated by waters.
Thank you very much. So let's get back to the cricket now. Randy Beckers, do you think, Bobby, that Kevin Sinclair should have gotten a central contract?
He could have. I don't think he's quite there yet. So if he got one, I can see why. But if they don't give him one this year, I can also see why.
Okay, I believe that he should have gotten one. What about you, Andre?
I think so too. He has performed very well, for the past few 18 tours that he has been on, he has performed quite creditable. So I really thought that he's unlucky not to have gotten a contract. The young man has done well, and he should have been rewarded with a contract.
I mean,
No, Mr. Go ahead, Bobby.
yeah, if you ask me, maybe because he hasn't played any international since here, right? So maybe that's why. Maybe that's why they haven't given him one. But I think if Sinclair had stayed there with Josh and maybe got a 50, I think and West Indies had won that game, I think he would have gotten a contract.
Again, gentlemen, remember these CWI got certain metrics how they award the contracts. It's not based on how you're doing a team, etc. Sinclair has a contract with the Guyana franchise, so he is in the fold.
Okay. I'm going to quote. I'm going to quote what Desmond Ains said about issuing the contract. I'm going to put it on the screen shortly. Here is Supernova saying that Darren Ganga proposed giving the academy players a developmental contract to keep them interested in West Indies cricket. On the face of it, gentlemen, I think that's a good statement.
I agree.
My question, though, is that if I'm going to pay you money, and this goes for all the contracted players, the 90 regional contract, the 14 from West Indies, that make it 104 for all of these contracted players. What am I getting for the money that I'm paying you? What are the standards that you are expected to reach at this level? Gentlemen, Bobby, let me hear from you first.
Yeah, I mean, you expect very high standard from them if you're gonna give them extra contracts. You know, you would have to set a routine for them.
Okay, go. Continue, Bobby. Finish up your point.
Yeah, and they'll be expected to follow. You know, because if like I say, if you're paying them already and you're giving them an extra contract, then you know they're gonna have to put in a lot of work.
Okay, Andre, your view on should these players just get contract without meeting set targets?
I would think that they have probably set targets that is actually every time that you're given contract that they probably must meet a certain thing. Probably they don't meet all of the targets, but I would think that they have targets that they at least some basic target that they have to meet in order to get a contract. But but in order now for your contract to be renewed now, if you don't meet like say 80% of the objectives, you should not be given any more your contract. But I would think that there are actually, targets or objectives that they should actually that is presented to them.
Basil, my idea of someone getting a contract, if the regional 4-day tournament that is just concluded, my idea is that if you do not average over 50 or say 45, you should not get a regional contract as a batsman. What's your take on it?
I don't have a problem with setting such standards at all. Players have to understand that there's certain expectations. You're not just collecting this monthly pay. You show up 5 days a week, wherever you're training, etc., and you're not seeing a return on investment. The other issue in terms of these regional franchises is we have to understand the environment. What are these guys coming in 5 days a week to do? What are they doing? What are the coaching methods? What are the practices, the conditioning, and all those various things? Those are things that we need to make sure that a high performance environment is being created, because we've been paying these contracts since year 2014, and what have we gotten in return? It seems like we're pouring a bunch of money down a black hole and that's it, guy. The only thing professional about the cricket system is that guys getting paid and nothing else. So I agree. One of the things, you must have standards, and if you don't meet these performance metrics, you will not get a contract. I agree 100%.
I agree with you. I agree, gentlemen, that there must be performance metrics. For how I look at it, and let's talk about Jamaica. And I'm looking at it and I'm saying that, yes, West Indies said you should give out 15 contracts. But I don't think you have to give out those 15 contracts if people are not meeting them. Do you agree, Bobby?
I agree. And if the guys who you have, like regular guys, are not meeting the standards, go out and get some youngsters then, and put those guys on a pay to play. If West Indies say you have to give these 15 contracts.
Yes. And I don't want you gentlemen to answer this. Scrolling across the bottom of the screen is the female retainer contracted players. So scrolling across, you will see those players, 15 of them, who have centrally retained contract. But I believe that West Indies pays out roughly 400,000 US dollars each month to the 6th territorial board. Roughly 200,000 of that goes towards paying players. What is it that the other 200,000 is going towards? You want to take this, Basil, because you are probably in the know. What is the rest of the money going towards?
I know you get money, the strength and conditioning coach, the physio, the two coaches, and also that money would probably also go towards the CEO of each franchise, right? I think, for example, I mean, the scrolling across of you got the women players. In my view, West Indies, they need to have contracts of players in the territories themselves, because these women have very little opportunity to play and practice and so on in high performance settings. So you each territory, you name your 15 most talented players, and you have them just like you have the men, right? And one of the issues what you just raised there too, Carlton, I understand in the past years, this was pre-Skerritt administration, that these franchises didn't have to account to the West Indies board. They collected 25,000 a month from the West Indies board, and they didn't have to account. So you had a situation like this, right, where they would arbitrarily have most of the players on the C contracts, right, and a few of them on the higher contracts, and then they keep the balance of the money, and there's no accounting for the balance of the money, right? But since the others, I think since Skerritt them came in, Skerritt them said, no. Players will be paid based on their performance. So if you average as a batsman, you average X, you get a C contract. If you average Y, you get a B contract. You average Z, you get an A contract. So you not arbitrarily think. So these guys would get their money directly from the board based on their performance, rather than these regional boards with the shenanigans, putting everybody on the C contracts and holding up the rest of the money and so on and so forth.
And Basil, and I want to tell you, those are not necessarily the view of the cricket forum, because Basil, those are some serious allegations you are making there, no, Basil.
Let me tell you something, and I can say this without fear of contradiction, because what I just repeated there is what I was told by people who were in charge of a franchise. Right.
Okay. Thank you very much, Basil. Andre, the question I want to ask you, Andre, is that it appears that no money from CWI is going into the actual cricket development, but it's actually to pay executives and players in these regional territory. Is something wrong with that, Andre, that the money is paying persons and not actually being invested in cricket?
I mean, most definitely, because if the root, the root of the problem that we're having is the development of West Indies cricket. So if no money is going to development, that is why we're not seeing, I mean, really talented players coming through, because the players are not just being developed. It is not, the money is not going where it is supposed to go. It is not doing what it is supposed to do. So there is a serious problem where that is concerned, right? And if we look at even, say, even cricket in Jamaica, over the past few years, we have had a serious issue in the development of Jamaica's cricket. I can speak about Jamaica's cricket in particular, right? So I don't think the money is going to to where it ought to be for development of West Indies cricket, and something needs to be done about that.
Thank you, Andre. We were discussing, I think it was mentioned, the metrics that is used to select these players. And so I'm going to give you a quote from the chief selector, Desmond Haynes, for the male team. And he said, the players who have been offered contracts are among those who we expect to feature as we look to build towards challenging for the top spot when we host and compete in the ICC Men's T20 Cricket World Cup 2024. He continues by saying, we also have away test series in Australia and England. These are two major assignments, while in the 50-over format, we look to build a nucleus of players aimed towards CWI ICC Men's Cricket World Cup 2027. What I did not mention in that quote, which is not here, is that at the beginning of the quote, he said that he have done extensive consultation with both white ball and red ball coaches. Are those comments, Bobby? How do you react to those comments, Bobby, from the chief selector?
They sound pretty. I hope it's true. I could see what he's saying. But regarding the test team, they only have like 3 test players. I think maybe he would have given Blackwood a contract, because Blackwood have been playing for a while now. But for pretty much of it, I could see what he's saying. I could see it.
Okay. Basil, are you confident with that statement from Ains? Are we prioritizing white ball cricket instead of red ball cricket?
It would seem so, and also it would seem that the metrics that I was talking about, how they gave out contracts in the past, has changed. Based on a player performance over the past year and so on and so forth. So now they're giving out contracts based on projections and those kinds of things, right? So, and that's an interest, Bobby raised an interesting question. I had not thought about that in terms of the test players, because what West Indies, I think, is scheduled to play 6 test matches over the next year,
right,
in 2024. So you're telling the test players, well, we're not really focusing on you guys. Y'all gotta hold the line, so to speak. We focusing on the white ball guys. So now a Blackwood now probably will now be contracted by Jamaica, which means Jamaica now cannot give a younger player a contract, because now Blackwood has to be contracted with the Jamaica franchise. So these are interesting times in West Indies cricket.
Okay, Andre, I want you to the comment. This is coming from the ladies. That is Anne Brown. She's a chief selector for the female team, and this is what Anne Brown had said. The selectors have identified a cadre of players who we believe can drive West Indies cricket forward. We have placed emphasis on the development of the younger players, which we view as pivotal in the pathway to the international level. We have a number of high-profile bilateral series and major global events on the horizon. And with this in mind, we want to have our players prepared and ready for these events. What are your views on Anne Brown comment? And should it have been more specific? Because these these two comments from Ains and Brown, we don't have anything specific in them, Andre. Should they have been more specific?
You're on mute.
So, the general statements that has been made. As Baz alluded to, we're no longer seeing contract in terms of different tier, contract A, B, and C. We no longer see that. So we don't get this specific details of as to the reason why, say a Craig Brathwaite, no, not even Craig Brathwaite, say a Tajari Shanda Paul was given a contract over, say, a Blackwood. So I would have loved to see the different criteria in terms of as to the reason why players were given the contract. So these are just some general statements that is quite vague to me. So we don't know the real reason, the criteria as to how players were given contract. And just to go back to the men test team, right? I think on average though that for the next 5 or so years, I don't think that West Indies will play more than, say, 6 test matches per year.
That's true.
And with the exception of say Australia, India, and England, I think that is the case right through for all test play nations. They will play on average 6 test matches per year, even like South Africa. I think that West Indies will even play more than South Africa, in terms of test cricket, for the next 4 or 5 years. So is it that, and of course we're going to play a lot more white ball cricket. So is West Indies wrong in trying to emphasize white ball players over red ball players? Are they really wrong in trying to do that? I don't think so, really, because we're not going to be playing a lot of test cricket.
Bobby, what are your views on that comment on the screen? The person is saying that we have given up on Evan Lewis and Fabian Allen. Is it the West Indies who have given up on them, or they have some personal responsibility?
They have some personal responsibility, but I think what the person is saying is, he's saying like people have to give up on them because, like you said, they have not been doing good for themselves. So, people just have to give up on them and look past them and look at the future.
Okay. Do you have an opinion on it, Basil?
Yeah, I wanna back up and comment on the women's side, what the chief lead selector said. I don't want to call out player name in terms of the contract, but there's one player on that list I would like to know how on earth she got on that list. Right? I would really love to know. And just to give you a clue, she comes from Guyana.
No, I'm looking. I'm gonna tell you her name shortly because I know the players. But go ahead with your comment.
Yes. I don't understand these. Well, this is a problem with CWI, and it seems like it's like rocket science for them with their communication. They are such a piss poor organization when it comes to communication. I mean, and you keep hearing from them, oh, we got to get better, but it never gets better. Some basic fundamental things are never communicated to the public. And so as a result, we have to speculate and speculate and speculate. I believe these things like the contracts and so on, you people who are reporters should have the opportunity to engage with the lead selectors, for them to go down the list and give a rationale as to why each one of these players received a contract and why other players did not get contracts. That's number one. Because I can tell you in the past, when Jimmy Adams was there, the lead selector and the director of cricket would present to the directors their rationale for all of these players being selected, give the whole spiel, right? So if that is still going on, why don't we as a public we are constituents of West Indies cricket? Actually, as far as I'm concerned, We are the most important constituents, because if we don't turn up and don't look at West Indies cricket, there wouldn't be West Indies cricket. And I think some of these people seem to forget that basic fundamental thing about us, the constituents, i.e. the fans.
I agree with you 100%, 100%, Basil, because if we don't watch the cricket, there's no eyes on the cricket. And if there's no eyes on the cricket, there's no sponsorship. And if there's no sponsorship, there's no money to pay the bill. I always said that president comes and goes, players comes and go. It's a revolving door. Administrators pass through that revolving door. But we remain fans for life. And we are the most important constituents, stakeholders in this game. I'm putting on the screen there now, and you would have seen on the screen there, West Indies schedule. Let me get off the screen that you can see it. You'll see at the bottom there, this is leading up to the end of 2027. So between now and 2027, West Indies is going to play 26 tests, 48 ODIs, and 73 T20. West Indies is going to play more T20 than any other team during this time, gentlemen. What are your comments?
Well, the testing, I'm not surprised at. I saw that thing, but now that you put up all the numbers, I didn't realize that we will be playing that larger number of T20s more than anyone else. Usually the South Asian teams are the ones that play way more white ball cricket than any other teams in the world. And we are in their zone. Look, we are playing, I would, based on these numbers, I think we are playing probably the most white ball cricket. So I can see why they're focusing on contracting more white ball cricketers more so than the test cricketers. But they have to figure out a way, because you remember these test cricketers are participating in a World Test Championship. So if they are not in some kind of setup, how are they preparing themselves when there is no test cricket to participate in these upcoming test matches?
What are your views on the numbers, Andre?
Yeah, but I was very much aware of the numbers, That's why I said to you that I can understand why West Indies focus so much on the white ball version instead of test cricket, because I knew that from when I saw the ICC actually gave for this cycle, I realized that we not have been playing a lot of test cricket, right? So I'm not at all surprised by the numbers, because I was actually aware of them. So I mean, I even mentioned to a few friends that the likes of Blackwood and Brathwaite, they're going to just twiddle their thumb for a long period of time, because they don't play white ball version of the game, So how do they actually prepare when it's time for test cricket? They play probably 2 test matches in Australia in January, and probably 2 in mid-year, and then 2 at the end of the year. So what do they do during the rest of the time? It's very, very difficult. And how is it that you're going to pay players for just playing 6 test matches pretty much for the year? What do they do for the rest of the time? It's a very difficult one.
Bobby, what are your views? I'm
wondering how Bangladesh play more test match than us. That's my first view. I'm looking now. Bangladesh is going to play 34 test match, and I'm wondering how West Indies is only playing 26. But West Indies is not going to explain to us why. So, but just to go back on the contract, I was looking at the players, and pretty much a lot of the players are test players also. When I look back at it, because you have Atenes, I think Hope is going to come back in test cricket. Maybe Carty, because Desmond Haynes did say with the 50 over players, they're looking to kind of merge them with the test players and then leave the T20 players, to roam around or do whatever. But yeah, surprising. Our next surprise is to see West Indies playing more T20s than India as well.
12 more than them.
12 more than them, and normally India play a lot of T20s.
But Miss Supernova's brought something. Sorry, Bobby, go ahead.
Yeah. So But I guess sometime we can have like maybe some one-off series, like where we did with Zimbabwe. Hopefully the test guys can get some more games under them belt.
Okay. Gentlemen, are you surprised with the small number of games South Africa is playing right across? Although this is a West Indies fan channel, but does it surprise you?
I mean, we often say about West Indies, with our players leaving and going and looking for the payday elsewhere and so on. South Africa have a serious crisis also, right? I know. Look, and now those numbers there, a nation like South Africa only playing 113 games across the board in compared to look, Afghanistan played more than them international matches, right? That don't make no sense. Bangladesh played more matches than them, right? They're in the same zone with Ireland and Zimbabwe in terms of playing international matches. South Africa, right? So they have the same challenge because they're only playing 6 test matches this upcoming year also, right? And look, for example, what's going to happen to them. They're going to be playing New Zealand at the turn of the year, and I was telling you that the other day in the chat, why they played a lot of these. You've seen a lot of these guys playing in the 18 matches against the West Indies, and a lot of their guys who are contracted with South Africa T20 were not playing because they need to look at all of these guys because the South Africa T20 tournament is going to clash with the New Zealand series. So none of those guys are going. So they will be going to New Zealand almost with a second 11, virtual second 11. So they had to look at all of these. Look at Dane Pete. Dane Pete had retired and come to live in the United States, and they had to pull him out of retirement to tell him to go back to South Africa, right? Because they run out of players because all these guys gonna be playing the T20, right? So their cricket is in a serious situation, and we think we bad in the Caribbean.
Andre? Yes, Andre, in wrapping up, could you give us your final comment? Please remember to slash a like on the video and click on the subscribe button.
Yeah, well, just to say that I'm comfortable with the T20 squad. You want me to? Yeah, the T20 squad selected by the West Indies. I really don't have any difficulties with any of the personnel really, and I just hope that the guys can go out there, work pretty hard, and we can be successful, and it will augurs well for our World Cup preparation come next year.
How do you see the T20 series going? Give us numbers here. 1 love, 5 love. What do you think? Who's gonna win it? And what's your prediction?
Gonna win 3-2.
Who's gonna win 3-2?
West Indies will win 3-2.
Oh, okay, thank you, Andre. Bobby, would you like to give us your final comment, please, and tell us who you think is gonna win this series and by what score?
Well, I want to say big up to the guys. They make us proud. The first time we have won a series against England in 25 years in the West Indies. So, I love that. The score prediction, I think we're gonna beat them 4-1. I'm gonna bet on that. We're gonna beat them 4-1. We're gonna send that. We're gonna continue their World Cup nightmare.
Okay, okay, Bobby. Basil, your final comment and your predictions for the series.
I as I said earlier, I have no real big issues with the squad that's selected. The only rationale I would have loved to hear is in regards of Russell, because as I said earlier, the selection, the 2 selectors that are on did not pick Russell the last time around. So I would ask what has changed since then. And so leaving that aside, I'm going to give West Indies a 3-2 victory. I'm giving them a 3-2 victory.
Okay, thank you very much, Basil. Now, looking at the squad that was selected, as you have known, I would have gone with 13 of those players. Now, we have said our bit about the squad. It is now time to support these 15 players because in the end, it is 11 that play on the day that is going to let us be proud and happy and win the match. As far as the retainer contracts are concerned, I definitely believe that Kevin Sinclair and Jermaine Blackwood should have been given contracts by Cricket West Indies. I also believe that there should be standard, and maybe the standard that I have, no one should have received retainer contract. Maybe the money that should be paid as retainer contract should go in a pool, and when they win a match, they get that money. But these guys are not performing at the level where I would have given them a retainer contract. As Basil pointed out, the number 11 on that list of female retainer cricketers, we have to wonder why she got a contract. Or was it that she got a contract? I make sure I take down the list so you probably will never remember who that 11 is. But thank you all for being here. Please slash a like on the video, click on the subscribe button and share with your friends. It was good having you. It was a wonderful show. I enjoyed myself tremendously. I enjoy your company. And let us continue to celebrate West Indies' first series win over England in an ODI competition for over a generation. Thank you all. Have a great Sunday now. Take care of yourself. Take care of your loved ones. See you tomorrow with a preview of that first T20 International. Bye for now.